Create websites, and we can delete websites. Right, we can remove websites. Now let's work on being able to update a website. But before we can update a website, we have to be able to select which website we want to update. So to do that, we can add yet another hyperlink here, but maybe provide the selection. Instead of the action being delete, we want to select the website. With the same ID, we're going to encode the ID in the URL, and we're going to change this to be select. Okay. Now on the controller side, we're going to handle that over here in the do-get, because links are just HTTP requests back to the server. Now the action is going to be select. The ID is going to be the same, right? So here we're going to have an else if select dot equals action. Then we're going to handle this. I'm going to say, okay, well, now I need to fetch the ID. So maybe we can write this a little nicer and reuse some of this. Now that I have the website ID, we want to be able to retrieve the website by ID. Retrieve it, right? So we can do find me the website by ID. Find website by ID, which we don't have implemented. Right, so we can go back to the DAO and implement that, right? So let's copy that. Let's go to the DAO and let's implement it as up here. We can say public. This is going to return a website object, right? It's going to receive an int website ID. Notice that the purpose of the DAO is to provide a high-level abstraction, an API that hides how this is being stored. All the idiosyncrasies of dealing with the database, right? It provides an abstraction layer that allows you to think in domain objects as opposed to dealing with the idiosyncrasies of IDs and foreign keys and primary keys and table storage and any of that, right? It abstracts this from us. You gave me an ID, I'll give you a website, right? And so after creating the abstraction layer, there's no need for you to think about tables anymore. Right, or schema or SQL ever again, right? That's the whole point. Just like SQL is also an abstraction layer, right? Just like SQL at some point allows us to think about a file system at a higher level. Right? There are no real tables, no real rows, right? All that is a construction, right? It's all an abstraction that allows us to think about data at a high level of tables and rows and foreign keys and primary keys. This is all in our heads, right? As long as we all agree and we're all equally buy into this abstraction, right? We all can talk the same language, yes? So same thing here. We are now again creating another abstraction layer so that we don't have to think about SQL and we don't have to think about the file system, right? So that the more abstraction layers you create, the easier it is to swap out the bottom layers, right? So that if you don't want to use relational databases tomorrow, you can swap it out by a NoSQL database tomorrow, or swap it out by an XML implementation, or you can swap it out by some network connection to some remote database in the cloud. Yes? The abstraction layer of the API, of the DAO, stays. Right, and so it's the higher level you design things, right? Usually the bigger the bucks there, right? It's much more important to be able to abstract these things, right? All right, so there it is. So we have the website ID. So right now we're going to just return null for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to reuse the same mechanism we use for find all websites. It's going to be very similar. Instead of find all websites, we really want to retrieve find website by ID, and it's going to be select star from website where ID is equal to question mark, right? And the query is going to be very similar to find all websites. So I'm going to just copy and paste that for brevity's sake. Okay, so I'm just going to copy it and paste it in here. you might implement a better implementation. I'm lazy today, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. You'll have a better implementation than I do. So prepared statement, instead of find all website, this will be find website by ID. And we're going to take the statement and we're going to populate that integer. The first integer, we're going to populate it with the website ID that we're passing as an argument. It's going to go fetch all the websites, which will be just one of them, hopefully. Website is an array list that we need to declare that up here. So this will be our array list of websites. So this is still websites, array lists of website, which are being added here. Once we have the websites, oh, did I misspell it? Websites. Once we have the websites, hopefully at the very last things that we will do is just return the first one. Right, because presumably it's just one of them. So we're going to return here, return websites.get0. Just the first one. Okay? All right. And this might be null, might be empty, right, if we don't have any of these. All right, so meanwhile, on the controller, there's our website over here, right? Website. Which we should be ready to just send it over to the view for rendering, right? So actually, let me declare this at a higher scope. Let me declare it up here and initialize it as null. Okay, there it is. And what we'll do is that if website, we can store it in the request that can be used by the view for rendering, right? So we can say request dot set attribute website, and we're going to store there the website object. Okay. Notice that we're storing two objects, either one website that we selected, and we're also storing the all websites. Now this is because we decided to host both use cases in the same view, right? We could have decided to split it up into two different views, right? One view for editing and creating, right? Especially if your data model, your domain object has lots and lots of fields, right? It would be more appropriate to have a dedicated view only for editing and creation purposes, and another view for listing a summary of websites. We've implemented it all in the same view, right? But you could have split it up, and there would be two different controllers. One controller to deal with the list, and one to deal with an individual instance. Yes? We have one controller dealing with all of them, with all 4 or 5 use cases, right? A better implementation might be to split this across multiple controllers. All right, so we have that. Now that we have that on the view, presumably we have now this website instance that is coming from the controller, which we can read it here. We can say website from the request dot get attribute call website. And this could be null. This could be null, right? Let's cast it. So this would be of type website. If we haven't selected anything, this would be null, right? So what we can do here is we want to populate our input fields, right, in our text area with the selected website, right? So what we could do is populate here a name, website name, with an empty string by default, and same thing with the description with an empty string for now. And if website is not null, then we can maybe populate the name with the website.getName. and we can populate with the description with get. Really? Get description. Okay? And we can populate our input fields by giving it a value, right? That is populated from the name and the description. In the description, we can put it right here in the text area. Oops. Description. Description. There it is. Okay? So if we refresh, oops. If we refresh, we give an internal server error. Unable to combine duplicate local variable website. Oh, because down here we have a website, right? That no matter. So let's not declare it down here. Let's use the same instance. Let's try to do that again. Okay, so let's select this one, and notice that we have the website name and the description as we select. It gets fetched from the controller. Okay, makes sense, right? Notice that this is all happening on the server side, right? Many of you, I think, are thinking of doing it on the client side, right? And that too, we'll explore that a little later. All right, so next thing would be that if I want to be able to update the website, I want to maybe change the description or change the name of the website, right? So let's do that next.